Last year, as we were getting ready to say goodbye to the 2010s, I released a top 10 list of the best horror movies of the decade. Enjoying that so much, I ended up expanding it and did one for every decade up into the 1970s. You can find those on my Facebook page, Mr. Pat's 31 Days of Halloween, or our website, mrpats31daysofhalloween.com. Now, during that time, there's just so many horror movies released that some are going to fall through the cracks. So for today, I want to go through one that I missed. It is 13 Ghosts. The movie begins with a ghost hunter, Cyrus, and his psychic assistant Dennis, played by Matthew Lillard of Scream fame. Despite having what seems like an army with them, only Dennis understands what they're getting into is not going to be pleasant. Soon after they're set up, shit starts hitting the fan, and whew, it happens fast. Some unseen force is mowing down everyone. People are scattering like roaches and cars are flying every which way. It's hectic as all hell, but it's really cool looking. I was watching and loving the spectacle. It's a hell of a way to kick off the movie. From there, it slows down considerably and has a really effective way of using that annoying bit where they show you the movie's credits in the beginning. We start in a backyard where a brother and sister are happily frolicking. Then the camera moves to show an extremely happy Tony Shalhoub and his wife talking about how happy they are. At this point, alarm bells should be going off in your head, and if not, the movie has a smoke alarm that goes off for you. From there, we get the credits. But it doesn't go black. The camera slowly pans around the house as the background starts to change, and you hear how this family's lives get turned upside down. I think it's more effective this way and a clever way to keep you engaged while the names keep popping up. It's kind of heartbreaking hearing what they went through. You literally follow them all the way from happy to a fire to panic, fear, despair. And then you hear them at the hospital and finally the funeral for the mother. It's supremely well done and gives you all the backstory you need without having to show it. The distraught tone in Shalhoub's voice paints everything for you. We pick up later and the Kritikos family is living in a small apartment. They're kind of tired of the cramped space when all of a sudden a shyster lawyer shows up. He lets the family know that their uncle Cyrus has died and his fortune is now theirs. So off they go to the new home where the psychic Dennis is waiting for them, and through some spooky circumstances, they learn that all the ghosts they'd captured are stored inside the house they're now trapped in. That's enough setup, I think. Let me start by praising the production values. It is awesome to look at. The house they go to is a huge glass one with twists and turns, and every second they're inside is a treat for your eyes. But it's also not just a house. There's a sinister reason behind the architecture, and it's constantly shifting throughout. You could be walking down a hallway when all of a sudden something will change and the way you were headed is now blocked off. The crazy house is as much a character and as much a threat as the ghosts are. I can't say enough about how cool everything in this house looks. Let's talk about the 12 ghosts. The movie doesn't go too deeply into them, but they all have in-depth backstories that you could find in the DVD bonus section, or since it's 2020, you could just check out the Wikipedia page. You have the firstborn son, the torso, the bound woman, the withered lover, the torn prince, who I always thought was the coolest because he looks badass swinging his baseball bat, the angry princess, the pilgrimess, the great child and the dire mother, the hammer, the jackal, and finally, the juggernaut, the guy we met in the beginning. They're all spooky in their own way, especially Hammer and Juggernaut, and the chase scenes utilize the setting and spooky nature of these beings perfectly. In this movie, the ghosts are invisible, but they can still hurt you. The only way you can see them is to wear special glasses. In the scary scenes, you have some people completely blind to the danger they're in, and they're running through a literal maze that keeps closing off their means of escape. But is it scary? Well, I don't know, your mileage may vary. There was a scene with the youngest child being lured down the basement by a woman's voice, while a different woman pleaded with him to go back upstairs. Now, you don't see either of them. That part was legitimately scary, but no other part comes close to replicating the feeling it gave. Still, it's pretty creepy and Matthew Lillard sells it well. This movie also stars Shannon Elizabeth of American Pie. Production values aside, this movie does have some problems. For one, how some characters get from A to B doesn't make any sense. Without giving too much away, there's a sequence at the climax that I still can't make heads or tails out of, and I think the movie would rather you just skip over it. 13 Ghosts was ravaged by critics and non-critics alike, but I don't understand the hate. Sure, it's not the best movie in the world, but there's nothing deal-breaking about it. The ghosts are frightening and a major threat, Matthew Lillard's overacting is fun to watch, and the way everything looks and how it's shot is just awesome. I even like some of the strobe effects with the ghost continually flashing between there and not there. If you can find it, I'd say give it a watch, but I wouldn't put too much effort in the search. 6.5 Dr. Chainsaws.